Okay, I even have a second pun here because my last name is Sapinoro, so there's the add as well. And I'm from the Weber School of Pharmacy, and our first year pharmacy students are the ones in our program that have been all given an iPad. And so I started teaching them just in the spring semester here. So I too am fairly new to using the iPad to interact and engage with the students. I use my iPad in the fall semester just to teach from, but that was in the third year pharmacy course where they did not have all iPads. And so the course that I'm using this in is called Biosystems 2. And some of the topics we talk about in there involve many different pathways, whether it be some of your metabolic pathways like the Krebs cycle, infectious disease, and then introduction to immunology, which is where I started using this idea of concept mapping or mind mapping. And so in terms of the different ways that I've had students do this, most students actually prefer to just do it freehand notability, just because in notability, there are numerous functions that you can easily manipulate. So you can use your own handwriting. You can bring in pictures from slides that have been used in class, from the PowerPoint decks. You can draw shapes. You can make your own arrows there. So there is a lot more flexibility in making a mind map or a concept map in Notability. But the iPad itself also has some application or some apps in there that are built for mind mapping. And this includes MindMeister, Simple Mind, and MindNode. They are all free purchases or free apps. But if you want sort of the high quality parts of the apps, there are some in-app purchases. But the basic free version definitely still gives you the ability to build very nice looking mind maps. So one of the things that I've done with the class is sort of right before an exam, sort of give them a lot of the topics that have been discussed so far, and kind of just have them use this list as sort of a guide to sort of help them produce their own mind map. And then in class, I'll give them about 15 minutes to kind of start one up, and then ask students to sort of share their mind maps using the Apple TV so that everybody else can see. And definitely one of the first things that we notice is that no two mind maps are alike, which is great because people think about things differently, and having a different version of a pathway or how things connect isn't necessarily the wrong way to think about it, particularly in immunology where many things connect from one to another. So let's just sort of give you some examples of things that have been shown. I can just share it now. So sort of based on those different terms, this is one example of what a student had done. And coming into these different mind apps, concept map apps, it does take a little bit of time to figure out, sort of what you can do in terms of when you click on a particular area, if you want to add something, what that function actually does compared to sort of going somewhere else and having that there. And so with immunology, CD4 T cells, those are our helper T cells. And so that's one thing that somebody can do to sort of show how that connects there. And then if you want to kind of connect other things, so for example, we just add something here and let's see. So we'll just take the word lymphocytes. So lymphocytes is one of the concepts here. So if we kind of add something there that says lymphocytes. But we don't want it to really connect to that thing. So again, this is sort of like one of those learning curves where you have to kind of figure out how things, what are the different functions you can do here. So lymphocytes here. So lymphocytes, if we bring it here, we can say that they are the T cells, and you can connect it again to our B cells there. So many different ways you can kind of connect different topics. So in here, you can use your Apple Pencil to sort of choose areas, but you can't really write anything in there. So that is one of the advantages for notability, again, is if you want to add notes somewhere. So that was MindMeister, and this one here is it's a simple node. This one here is another version of it, and you may find one version you like better than another. This one's one that I particularly like more, just because you can really move things around to wherever you want it to go. And then within each area, if you want to put your own notes, you can hit the text button here, and you can add some of the notes from the class. So we know that DATUnity has sort of a long-lived memory, but it takes a while to get activated. So you can write those things in there, and then when you're studying this mind map, you can kind of see what other notes you sort of put into that particular area there. So if we want to sort of add something here from our previous list, so in our previous list, we had innate immunity. Now we have that, and we kind of move that to wherever we want it to be. And then again, you can put notes in there by innate immunity is that sort of first line of defense. And then it'll kind of just always be there in that respect. Some other terms in this list sort of includes our phagocytic cells here. And so phagocytic cells, hopefully they know that it's part of innate immunity. And then again, nice thing that you can sort of move this wherever you want. And then another feature that's kind of interesting in this particular mind mapping app is that you can sort of hide things. And so if you want to study with a friend, you can sort of say, okay, what bone marrow and thymus, so what can you tell me about that? And so they can say as much as they want, and then they can sort of drop down and then actually tell them sort of like what the answers really are. So it is sort of also a nice way to be able to use the mind map to even test yourself, and then sharing it with others. The only way that I found to share both in this app and in MindMeister is if the other person also has the same app. So you can actually just email directly your mind map to somebody else. The other functions for saving as a PDF or a picture, those all come with the more of the in-app purchases there. So definitely a great way to sort of have students put together on their own how they kind of see the material sort of developing in their head, and then comparing it with their classmates to kind of see where the connections are that they're missing or a connection that they didn't see for themselves. So that's in a nutshell how I kind of use the concept maps for a course like immunology where pathways are interconnecting all the time. But I can definitely see this transferring to other disciplines for sure, even whether it's sort of like a history class or another science course to be used.
You can put them up or you put notes in and just put them in a page.
Yeah, so it just comes up as a note, whatever you had put in there.
Can you talk us through, so what this process or what this activity may have looked like pre-iPads?
Yeah, so pre-iPad, probably people could have used like some of the functions in PowerPoint, where PowerPoint gives you some of those pre-made charts that you can kind of make. But I did find some of those quite hard to navigate through. And then once you delete something, you're like, oh my God, I deleted everything below it. Didn't need for that to happen, yes. So I definitely seen that, or just the whiteboard itself. Just sort of drawing the whiteboards in the classroom is how I previously done the exercise as a sort of group class activity. So very simple way to kind of take concepts from the class and kind of put it together into your own, map it. Hopefully when you look at it, you can kind of remember it during the exam.
Well, and it's giving students the choice of how they want to set up their learning,
Yes,
right? Like
yes.
they can say, well, I want it to be this color, I want it to be that color, or
Right.
I want to put in these notes in this part. Yeah, it's really cool. And I can definitely see it, like you were saying, history of sciences, but I could see it for some of the core work. You know, you want to lay out things linearly or talk about maybe writing a paper and building kind of that outline. I could see it very easily.
Yeah, definitely an outline would be very helpful
Yeah.
in one of these concept
Absolutely.
apps itself.
Were your students drawn to one of the apps you showed more than the other?
Because it does take a lot more time to kind of know what all the functions are in the actual apps themselves. The majority of the students did do it in Notability,
Okay.
which was
They
fine
drew their own
because yes,
Notability.
so they wrote their own notes. And I think the advantage again of Notability is that it's so easy to take a picture from the slide that we're giving to them and put it into the actual Notability mind map itself. This one doesn't give you much option for pictures here. In MindMeister, they do have a whole emoji section that you can put things on. So I actually found one with a bow tie, and I wanted to wear bow ties. So I asked them I put in lymph nodes, but I was like, oh my gosh, I can put an emoji in there. So that's the most artistic part of MindMeister that you can actually add in the free version. But yeah, Notability for sure is what most students did.
Yeah. And what kind of feedback did you get from students?
Well, first people were very afraid to share, right? Yes, and so the first time I did it, I actually, because they kind of sit in tables or groups automatically, I said, okay, work on one together as a group.
Yeah.
That way we can share one of yours, and then you can go back and kind of modify each how you think you do it. Yeah, so I think they like the idea, but they're still very cautious about sharing just because nobody wants to be wrong.
Yeah, great.
I like that idea though, of bringing them as a group together first and
Yes.
being like, let's bring our knowledge together and lower the stakes just a little
Exactly.
bit. Yeah. That's a good idea.
So that as a group, they're sharing one map,
Right.
and one individual doesn't matter.
How did you research the different apps that you suggested? Aside from Notability, how did you find the other two?
So I had previously used MindMeister already, but just as something just for me to sort of organize my own thoughts. So that one I knew was available, and then it was just basically going through the application library and just kind of searching through the different options that there are. I mean, there's probably more than 10 in there, but definitely choose one and just learn that one rather than going through the many that are in there. For sure. Yeah.